we've been doing texture all month this month, and I'm going to be showing you how to do the use the music scaffold, which is something I came up with for a student a couple of years ago, and I loved it so much that I worked with it again last year with my kids last year, and then I've taught my kids in year 11 this year, and it's really working well. I actually started with these year 11s last year when they're in year 10, and sort of started and tried a few things with them, and as I said, it works. That's the thing I like about it. It works. So I'm going to share my screen, and you probably won't see me now for a little while because I want to share my screen fully so that I can talk you through this. I will be also playing some music, which I have got permission because I have a subscription to a site called Soundstripe, which has actually got some really good stuff on there. And that's where I got this music and where I get most of my music actually for sharing and doing all sorts of things. So as I said, I will share my screen if I can get my mouse to move. Where are you? Where are you? Mouse, silly thing. What's it doing? Didn't like that. Try again. All right, here we go. So I'm going to share screen. I'm going to make sure I share sound. Should be good at this, but I'm not. All righty, so we should be able to go. Slideshow from beginning. Alrighty, from what I can see, we can actually see everything now. So you should be able to see my whole screen. You might actually still, oh, you still can see me in the corner. I didn't think you were going to. Okay, awesome. That's good to know. Alrighty, so writing about, oh, I spelt that wrong. Music, it should be music there. Texture. How did I miss that C? And using this thing, the music scaffold. So as I said, I'm about to talk about that a little bit more. So welcome to tonight. I'm going to explain to you what music is, as in the scaffold. I'll explain how to use it in an answer. We're also going to have, sorry about that, I'll look at the questions we're going to listen for when we're discussing density of texture. And then I'm going to show you a couple of samples of using density and how that works with the music scaffold. So let's have a look. All right, so music stands for, I know it's something when you're listening to music, but it's something different here. Main musical idea. Understanding, specific samples, in-depth information, connect to concept or question. Okay, it's as simple as that. It's essentially just a framework like your Peel, like your TXXC, all those paragraph writing sort of things. But I like it because it works for music. Okay, funny that, seeing how I got that there. All right, so M stands for the main musical idea. So it's introduce the main musical idea or point that you will discuss and analyze. Okay, that's as simple as it is. So no matter what you're talking about, talk about that main musical idea, whatever it is that you happen to be discussing. But today we're looking at texture. Next one, U for understanding. It means show your understanding of the main musical idea. In other words, define it. It's as simple as that. Define it. Now, the next two things, the specific samples and the in-depth information, really work together. You have to be able to do those sort of things, not necessarily separately, but actually together. So you need to describe specific musical samples to support and show your understanding of the main musical idea, because we're all trying to support that. And you need to state when and by what instrument, okay? And then your in-depth information, again, connects to those samples. Provide in-depth information and explain or define any musical terms or events in details. Make sure that your information is relevant to the question or concept. Okay, so don't go off on a tangent. This is why I like this framework, because you think of your main musical idea, whatever it happens to be, and then you focus on that main musical idea, get all the information down, and then go to another idea. So even in your answer, if you only get 3 of these main musical ideas done, but if you've answered them really well, you have a potential to get some really good marks in the HSC. Or if you're just doing a viva voce or some sort of writing about music, actually an analysis, this works really well. And then the last thing is connect to concept or question. So connect your analysis to the concept being discussed, or if you use the elements of music, the element being discussed, and make sure you maintain a focus on the question and the concept. So in other words, don't go off on a tangent. Bring all that information connected back to the main musical idea. Why is all this information you've just provided, why is that supporting your main musical idea? Okay, it sounds more complicated than it is, but the way I get my kids to do it, and you can do it, is quite easy if you, once I show you how. Okay, So we're looking just at density today in texture. So that's all we're going to do is some density. So the questions are, now if you have my oral question cards, again, they're available on my website at TPT, Teachers Pay Teachers, at my store, GE Teaching Resources, and they were only about $7.50. They're not expensive, but in those, my kids call them the rainbow cards because they're all different colors. But there's a whole series of questions for every single concept, every single thing that you need to think about. It relates to the elements of music as well, but I'm talking about the concepts of music because that's what we talk about in my state. So the first thing you need to do is describe the number of layers of sound or texture as either thick, thin, medium, sparse, light, heavy, or dense. You might have another word, but in other words, how thick or thin is the music? Is there a lot of instruments playing? Is there only a few instruments playing? Does it sound heavy because of the way the instruments are played, etc.? Okay, so you're describing the density. The next question, describe the texture for each section. So if your music has 3 sections, it might be an A, B, and back to an A, but the first A might have only 2 instruments, the B might have 4, and the second A, the return to the A, might actually have all 4 instruments playing again. Okay, so you've got to describe the density and the changes in each of those sections. And then the last thing, is there any use of unison, doubling, similar motion, parallel motion, contrary motion, or counterpoint, and state when and by what instruments? So all those things you should know about. If you don't know about them, either find out, or again, if you really want to make it easy for yourself, go and have a look at my course on Teachable, because I've got everything in there for you. Okay, but anyway, they're the questions you're going to be focusing on. Hey, Amy, I can see that you're watching. Thank you very much. It's nice you had a birthday the other day, Amy. Nice to see you. Thank you. All right. So I didn't think anybody would be watching, but anyway, it's all good. So here we go. So here's an example. So we're going to use this piece of music called Love Like This by Centerpiece, as I said, found on the Soundstripe website. And the question simply is, how is texture used in this excerpt? So I'm going to play it for you, and it's on the next one. So I'm going to leave those questions up there. So if you're watching this or using this with your kids, or if you're a student who's actually watching this and trying to study for the HSC or writing about music, whatever, I would suggest that once you watch the video again and listen to this section again. I'm only going to play it once because I've already analyzed it and I'll show you more. But I said I'm just going to play it once so that you can actually have a listen, and then you'll understand what we're doing. And as I said, look at those questions and think about how you could answer them. So here we go.
Gazing at the blue of the night, stars are filling up the sky. You take my hand in yours, we'll make our own constellations. I could say how much you mean to me, but it won't mean a thing, 'cause words never sound quite right. Let's find our own kind of language. We've searched the whole world and all around it. Didn't know what we were looking for till we found it. They could say they've seen the highest mountain, bottom of the deepest sea, but no one's ever seen a love like this. They could dig up all the baby treasures, where it's worth more than anything, but no one's ever seen a love like this.
Okay, so as it's a nice song, it's really catchy. I quite like it, but as I said, I got it from the Soundstripe website. As I said, Love Like This by Centerpiece. Okay. Alrighty, so the questions were that you would be looking for or listening for, okay? And don't forget, if you are doing the HSC, it's usually, you only get a small section of music, and that's why I only played a little bit, okay? Because that's as much as you normally get for a HSC, and you might hear that maybe 5 or 6 times. But if you're not doing the HSC, obviously you would listen to the whole piece of music and you would actually concentrate on the whole, the music as a whole, but we're not doing that this evening. Otherwise, we would be here for a very long time. Okay. And we've all got other things to do. So the questions were, describe the number of layers of sound or texture as either thick, thin, medium, sparse, light, heavy, or dense. Describe the texture for each section and identify any changes. Is there any use of unison, doubling, similar motion, parallel motion, contrary motion, or counterpoint? State when and by what instruments. So as I said, if you want to listen to that music again, go back to this point in the video and just have another listen so you understand, but just watch along first. All right, so here's the answers if we were just answering those questions straight out. So overall, the texture is light and sparse. It's not really a very heavy texture, okay? And these correspond, number 1 corresponds to number 1 over there. Okay, number 2, the verse is sparse. It starts getting thicker in the pre-chorus and is at its thickest in the chorus. Okay, again, sorry, not sure why that was going off. And then the last one, on some lyrics in the chorus, the lead male vocalist and backing vocals sing in unison on the words no one has ever seen, and they repeat that a couple of times. Okay, so, but that's the answers. Now, normally, sometimes if you're a teacher, you might see that you only get maybe a couple of things. You might have an answer, a student has written texture is light or texture is sparse or it's thin, okay? And that might be it. That's usually all you get, okay? Been there, done that, and it's, yeah, you want your kids to write a bit more, okay? So I'll show you how to do that. So hopefully, if they're using the oral question cards, if they're actually answering these questions, and even if they've just done a few points, they could still actually extend on this. So if we were answering it in point form, because it's up to you whether you want to do it in point form or paragraph form, it's essentially the same thing anyway. All right, so the first thing would be texture in music refers to the number of layers in a piece of music and how those layers work together. Now, all that is this is the main musical idea. We're talking about density. So the main musical idea is texture in music, okay, refers to the number of layers of sound in a piece of music and how those layers work together. That's what we're talking about. Okay, overall, the texture is light and sparse because there are only a few instruments performing at any one moment in the song. The verse is sparse. It starts getting thicker in the pre-chorus and is at its thickest in the chorus. In the chorus, the lead male vocalist and backing vocals sing in unison on the words no one has ever seen. This means that they are singing the same pitch at the same time. And the slight changes in texture come from the different number of instruments performing in each section, making the song more interesting to listen to. Now, you're probably all going, well, yeah, that's great, but what does that mean and how does that work with the music thing? Well, let me show you. Now, I like colour. Okay, as you probably can see, I do this every time it's there, in my logo, okay, and that's essentially where a lot of the colours have come from. And when I'm doing things with my kids, each concept has a different colour, so that's why text is yellow. Pitch for me is pink, okay, and whatever else. But I said I like to connect and make colours, and the kids actually tend to remember it that way better. All right, so just to make sure, the main idea is texture, okay? We're talking about density, but texture in music, that's what we're referring to. Or in music, so that's your pink, that's your main musical idea. The orange there is your understanding, refers to the number of layers of sound in a piece of music and how those layers work together. That's it. Okay, main idea, understanding. That's all you have to do there. That's as simple as that. Okay, or it could be density, textural density refers to the number of layers of music. It's the same sort of thing. Okay. Now, the next things, the samples and the in-depth information, the S and the I. Alrighty, they are basically answering all those questions in a way that you're actually doing hitting the boxes. So we're talking here, the question 1 was describe the number of layers. Okay, so this is where this comes from. Overall, the texture, so that's your sample, is light and sparse because there are only a few instruments performing at any one moment in the song. It is described what it is. Okay, it said that it's thin, light, sparse, thin. You could have any of those words, but it's given an overall, what is the texture? Overall, the texture is that. It's described it. The next thing, describe the texture for each section and identify the changes. So the verse, so we're talking about each section of the song. The verse is sparse. It starts getting thicker in the pre-chorus, and it is at its thickest in the chorus. So you can see there it's got the sample, in-depth information, sample, in-depth information, sample, in-depth information. All righty. In the chorus, the lead male vocalist and backing vocals sing in unison on the words no one has ever seen, and that's repeated a few times. This means they are singing the same pitch at the same time. So not only have we just said the sample is in the chorus, the lead male vocalist and backing vocals sing in unison, which is probably what we'd normally get. That could actually be in red too. On the words, then that sample is that information. Now, most kids might say there was unison. Great, but where was it? Who was it by? How did it happen? Here you can see in that statement, in the chorus, the lead male vocalist and backing vocals sing in unison on the words no one has ever seen. This means that they are singing the same pitch at the same time. And that's what unison is. So again, that's just defined it. It's given in-depth information about the actual, what unison is and what was actually happening. And the last bit there is that connect to concept. Now, the concept is texture. That's what we're connecting back to. Okay. The slight changes in texture come from different number of instruments performing in each section, making the song more interesting to listen to. Now, it would depend on the question. Now, you could, if the question was, how is variety achieved in this, or how is unity achieved in this, or how is interest achieved, you could actually make then that statement a little bit different. So if it was unity, this it might be something like unity in texture is achieved by blah blah blah, or contrast in texture is achieved by blah blah blah. Okay, so depending on what the question is, and that's why I say connect back to the concept or the question. Okay, so this is essentially how it comes down to. So if you're going to write in paragraph form, it's exactly the same. I've just taken out the dot points, okay, and added in some punctuation. That's all I've done. All right, so texture in music refers to the number of layers in a sound of music, in a piece of music, and how those layers work together. Overall, the texture is light and sparse because there are only a few instruments performing at any one time in the song. The verse is sparse. It starts getting thicker in the pre-chorus and is at its thickest in the chorus. In the chorus, the lead male vocalist and backing vocals sing in unison on the words no one has ever seen, ... This means that they are singing the same pitch at the same time. The slight changes in texture come from the different number of instruments performing in each section, making the song more interesting to listen to. So again, if we were looking at this in terms of paragraph form, this is just how it breaks up in terms of the music scaffold, the main idea, understanding, sample, in-depth information, connect to concept. So the pink is the main idea, texture and music. Understanding is defining that, refers to the number of layers of sound in a piece of music and how those layers work together. The red is the samples and the green is the in-depth information. And again, essentially, all they are is answering those questions, okay? So that's all that is. Now, again, if kids had answered those questions, great, but we're pushing them I want to push your kids a bit further. If you're a student, you want to push yourself a bit further, this is what you're going to have to do. You're going to have to actually add to your responses. Alrighty, so overall, the texture is light and sparse because there are only a few instruments performing at any one moment in the song. The verse is sparse. Now, we could go further and say what instruments are playing when, but if you were doing a texture song, you would probably do that later on when you're doing your diagram, because you'd be able to see in the diagram that, you know, in the verse, it was only the voice, guitar, and bass or something, whatever it happened to be. Okay, so I'll read that sentence again, sorry. Overall, the texture is light and sparse because there are only a few instruments performing at any one time in the song. The verse is sparse. It starts getting thicker in the pre-chorus and is at its thickest in the chorus. In the chorus, the lead male vocalist and backing vocals sing in unison on the words no one has ever seen. This means that they are singing the same pitch at the same time. The slight changes in texture, and this is our connect to concept, the slight changes in texture come from the different number of instruments performing in each section, making the song more interesting to listen to. And again, depending on the question, okay, ours was a very simple question. Depending on the question, you would actually change that up, okay? And that's where the kids have, you know, or you or your students, whoever it happens to be, if you're writing, you want to connect that back up. Okay, that's all you need to do is connect that back up to that, that main idea. So just to recap, main music stands for main musical idea, understanding, specific samples, in-depth information, and connect to concept or question. Now, I'm going to say thanks for watching. I'm going to show you something in a minute, but I'll just go through this now. So you can find music classroom resources ready for you to use in the next lesson, very next lesson. If you want to use this right now in Teachers Pay, over in my Teachers Pay Teacher store, you can click the link in the description below. I'll have one there at my store, Junior Teaching Resources. Now, if you'd like to know more information on how to write about music, check out the course that is available right now over in Teachable, and you can use the link there below. So it's julia.teachable.com/p/writing-about-music. But I said, I'm about to show you that now anyway. So that should be the end of that. So I'll stop share for a moment and come back. Alrighty, so I can't see any questions at the moment. Oh, so my mouse is just being a bit silly there. Here we go. Try again. All right, so I'm going to show you. Ooh, where's my screen? Hang on, I will have to do that again. So I'll just do that and find it. Oh, that's why I do that. Sorry, I just got to do that first. All right, here we go. Now we should be right. So the joys of all these things should be there. Hopefully that is right. No, that's not right. I want that one. Hopefully you can see that. Doesn't look like it. Nope. Okay, I'm going to have to do that again. Sorry. I'll stop share screen again. Oh, it was there. Oh, okay. The delay is a bit of a pain. All right, so this is the course over on Teachable. So if you went Julia Teachable, you'll get there. There's actually 2 courses. That's a really old one. Ignore that. I couldn't delete it. That was all. And here's this one. So again, only $97. Seriously, it's great. Okay, and this is the things you know, it's good for you. But here's, go and watch that if you want to. But here's what you get in the course. Okay, there's so much. Seriously, guys, so much. You get, that's your getting started. There's pitch, there's duration, okay, tone, color, structure, texture, dynamics. Now, for each of these, righty, for each of those, I'm not kidding, there is actually 3 videos. So you'll see that, oh, I'd have to go back in that, sorry. There's actually 3, oh, you can see it, I think, on my screen there anyway. Describe the density, identify the instruments, phony diagram, but there's actually lots and lots of things in there. So much there, it's not funny. Okay, it's a really, really big course and got lots of printables and everything for you. Okay, so if you're looking at it, I said it's really worth the money. It should be actually a lot more, but anyway, it won't be there. So it doesn't look like I've actually got any questions. I thought this might have been actually a bit longer tonight, but just to quickly recap, music, okay, stands for main idea, understanding, sample, in-depth information, connect to concept. All right, if you want to just get something on texture, go to my TPT store, my Teachers Pay Teacher store, look it up. You'll find stacks of stuff there as I've been talking about texture all month, okay? So I hope you have a wonderful Tuesday evening. I'm going to say goodbye and I'll see you next week. Bye.